Imagine if the kid you mistreated turned out to be your boss's child. Caleb Johnson was about to teach two officers an unforgettable lesson. Caleb Johnson, a 13-year-old boy and the son of the new police chief in town, was on his way to his grandmother's house in the Meadowbrook neighborhood. Caleb loved his grandma's place. It was his safe haven, always filled with the aroma of fresh cookies and endless warmth. As Caleb walked, he noticed two officers trailing slowly behind him. He didn't think much of it at first. Meadowbrook was known to be safe, and he trusted the police. But as he kept walking, the officers got closer, almost like they were tracking him. Caleb glanced back, feeling their stern expressions, which sent a chill down his spine. Officer Lewis and Officer Green weren't smiling. Their stern expressions were intimidating. Caleb's unease grew as they continued to follow him closely, and he instinctively reached for his phone. His father, Chief Marcus Johnson, had recently taken over the precinct and always told him, "If you ever feel uncomfortable, call me immediately." Today, that advice would become invaluable. As Caleb continued, the officers picked up their pace and called out, "Hey you! Stop right there!" They didn't greet him or ask simple questions. Instead, their gazes were harsh and suspicious. "Where are you going, kid?" Officer Lewis demanded gruffly. Caleb swallowed and replied, "I'm just visiting my grandmother, sir. She lives just down the street." But his answer didn't seem to satisfy them. They began asking him personal questions, even demanding he empty his pockets. Confused and scared, Caleb complied, showing them a small gift box he had brought for his grandma. The officers, however, treated him as if he was hiding something. Meanwhile, back at the precinct, Chief Johnson saw his son's name flash on his phone. A call from Caleb during a weekday was unusual, and hearing his worried voice on the other end made the chief's heart sink. Caleb explained the situation, and Chief Johnson wasted no time, hurrying to Meadowbrook. On the corner, Officers Lewis and Green continued questioning Caleb. Officer Lewis leaned in, saying, "Kids like you shouldn't be hanging around here. Are you carrying anything illegal?" "No, sir," Caleb replied, his hands trembling despite trying to stay calm. Officer Green, the younger officer, watched with uncertainty but stayed silent, letting Lewis lead. At that moment, Caleb saw a familiar car approaching. His dad's car. Relief washed over him as Chief Johnson pulled up just as Officer Lewis was pressing him with another question. Stepping out in casual clothes, Chief Johnson's face was set, his eyes stern as he approached. "Chief Johnson!" Officer Lewis stammered, realizing who had arrived. The chief glanced down at Caleb, then turned back to the officers. "Would one of you like to explain what's going on here?" he asked, his voice controlled but laced with disappointment. Officer Lewis stammered, "Chief, we thought he looked suspicious, sir." This kid didn't look like he belonged here. Chief Johnson's gaze hardened. "Suspicious? My son was suspicious?" he asked, his words slow and firm. "He's visiting his grandmother, right down this street." Realizing the situation, Officer Green looked down, understanding the gravity of their error. We didn't know, Chief," he mumbled. The chief stepped closer, his voice steady yet commanding. "You didn't know because you didn't ask. You assumed." He paused, looking them both squarely in the eye. "Tell me, does a young boy walking to his grandmother's house look like a threat to you?" Silence fell as both officers stood there, visibly uncomfortable. Chief Johnson continued, "From now on, you will treat every member of this community with respect, just as you would want for your own family." He added, "Today, you both crossed a line." The officers nodded, regret clear on their faces, and the chief placed a hand on Caleb's shoulder. "Let's go, son," he said reassuringly. As they walked away, Caleb felt a sense of pride for his father, who had just stood up for him and for fairness. The officers had bullied the wrong kid, and now they understood the importance of treating everyone with respect. Chief Johnson knew it was a small step, but it was a start toward making Meadowbrook a fairer, safer place for all. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Have a great day.